You're listening to Drinks and a Movie with your host, Rudy. Spoiler alert.
Rolling Drinks and a Movie podcast. I am back with my friend Matt.
Late night edition again, by the way.
Once again, another late, long Yeah.
No, we haven't had any drinks yet, so we're already struggling. No, it's going to be a good episode.
I am pretty tired. But we're going to be talking about 2022's Prey. So we're wrapping up our whole little Predator talk. Ending with Prey, the newest movie in that franchise. You already heard our thoughts on The Predator if you heard me in the last episode, so we'll leave it at that. And I wasn't sure what whiskey to do or what drink to do for this one, so I brought
Nobody drinks whiskey in the movie, in case you're wondering.
Yeah,
so.
I brought two. One is the Overholt from Beam, their straight rye whiskey. We'll do that one second.
Cool.
I've had this one for a minute, and I've been like, man, I can't wait to open it. Like I haven't even broken.
It's got a cool bottle. I haven't seen a bottle like that before.
Oh yeah, it's really cool.
That's
super
cool.
old school looking. But I recently got the new Buffalo Trace product, which is the Traveler whiskey, 90 proof. It's a blended whiskey. Let me pour it, then I'll read about it. These came out a year ago or several months ago, and everyone was going ham for them just because it was another Buffalo Trace product. And
I gotta tell you, I haven't done the blend thing very often until we actually tried the what was the one we tried last time? The rye and
the Burr Rye.
The Burr Rye,
Knob Creek.
Yeah, that was I don't think I've tried very many blends besides some of like the Infinity Bottle stuff until before then. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think this is like, it's not a bourbon rye blend, but it's I'm guessing it's going to be more similar to a like Irish whiskey, like that kind of blend, you know?
Is Traveler, I'm not familiar with this one. Has it been a brand before they bottled this one, or is this a new brand?
I don't think so. I think it's a whole new brand. Gotcha. And it's a collaboration with some musician called Chris Stapleton.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, there's Buffalo Trace product, 90 proof. I'll read a description here because I don't remember all the specs on it, but Traveler whiskey was made in collaboration with American singer-songwriter Chris Stapleton. Do you know who that is? I don't know who that is.
No, we go way back, man. We've been friends for like 20. No, I have no idea. Sorry.
And Buffalo Trace Distillery. After experimenting with 50 different blends, blend number 40 was selected for bottling under the supervision of master distiller Harlan Wheatley. Bottled and blended at Buffalo Trace at 90 proof. This blended whiskey is available nationwide beginning January 1st, 2024.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
SRP $39.99.
You know what's going to happen, by the way? Stapleton's going to be like this guy who's like Taylor Swift. He's probably got, a billion fans and stuff, and we're going to sound like total idiots, but that's fine.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go.
Okay. Getting definitely a lighter nose for me. It's been a while since I've had just traditional Buffalo Trace, just to let you know. Mm-hmm. But it kind of reminds me a little bit about it.
I meant to bring one to do a little comparison.
I don't have one, sorry.
I forgot.
But the nose reminds, it's been a while since I've had it, but the nose reminds me of it.
I don't remember what the nose reminds me of, but it's kind of like perfumey in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just that it's got a little tad, for me, I got that little bit of floral, but just lighter in general.
Floral, yeah, that's a good way to put it. All right, well, I'm going to go for the taste.
Yeah, go for it, man.
I don't like it.
Well, I mean, it's under 100 proof, so I had a feeling. I can't say I dislike it, but I will say that the flavor is actually close to the nose for me, where I almost got these floral, it was like this sweetness to it up front that was almost, there was not a lot of heat up front to say the least, so.
Yeah, I can't describe, floral is probably the best descriptor so far. I can't, and the palate does match the nose.
Yes.
I have tasted whatever this flavor is before. I just cannot put my finger on it, like what it is, like almost some kind of like candy licorice thing, but like in a more unpleasant version of it,
Yeah, and for me, it's actually on the back end where it becomes a tad more, what you would say, unpleasant. It doesn't have as much flavor to me. That's what I would say it as. Like it kind of loses flavor to me. That's what it actually tastes like.
Yeah, it's very, very light on the palate too, like very thin.
It reminds me of Trace, interestingly enough, but actually a little worse.
Yeah.
So, and when I say worse, all I mean is like, it just doesn't have a full flavor to me that I would expect when I guess because we try some of the more higher end ryes and bourbons and all that kind of stuff. So it loses its flavor for me. I do get a little bit of heat on the back end, like as it's going down, I am getting a little bit of heat, but not much.
Yeah, I get like the teeniest tiny bit, but it's also just like the alcohol. It's not like you get a finish of flavors and all that.
Right. Yes, totally.
Yeah, it got even like thinner on the second sip too.
I would agree. And up front, it got actually thinner for me. That's weird. I don't know if that's normal, but
yeah, it just keeps diminishing.
Okay, so that one,
I get a hint of like vanilla.
That's like a
very like light,
just a very light, and it's up front, and it's only for like a moment, and then it's gone. Yeah, and then it loses that flavor as it leaves the mouth.
Yeah, I figured this might be the case with it. I mean, I only have this because I bought another bottle, and this came with it. It was like part of the little bundle, and I'm like, whatever, man. I guess I'll take it. I was almost considering giving it away, but I was like, no, I gotta do it for the podcast. So,
what does it retail for? Do you know?
It's at $39.99, which is way too much fucking money.
I was gonna say, like, if you're gonna spend that, just save yourself the money and buy a bottle of Buffalo Trace.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's cheaper.
Yeah, it's cheaper, and you'll probably get a little more flavor.
What was the new Beam, like the Jim Beam, the new black one that's like 7 years old?
Oh yeah.
I mean Knob Creek,
right? Knob. I mean, I would choose Knob Creek.
Yeah, Wild Turkey 101, Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. There's a lot of options.
Basically,
Elijah Craig.
even Elijah Craig, because you get a little more. In my opinion, the sweetness of the Elijah Craig, at least you get some actual flavor up front. This really just is. There's not a lot of flavor to it. So.
Yeah. Okay, I knew it was a good idea to bring this. Yeah. That's why I had a feeling I wasn't going to like this. I was like, I don't think I will. So I was like, I better bring the Overholt. So
I wish we could show it some more. Not kidding. That's good.
Yeah.
But there's really not much to say about it. There's just not much to it.
Yeah, that's it. It reminds me of when we did the J&B Scotch for the thing, and it's like, well, yeah, it's
what do you say about it? It's,
like a light beer, but is like a whiskey.
That was right.
Like the Miller Lite.
The light version.
Yeah. Like if Miller Lite was a whiskey, that's what this is. All right. But this one, here we go. So we all know I'm a big Beam head.
There you go.
So here we go. We got another Beam bottle. This also came out in 2024. Let me find the...
Yeah, I've never even heard of this. I don't remember seeing this on the shelves when I got into Total Wine. So is this one you'd have to look for a little bit?
They're at Total Wines. Okay. I see them pretty often now. I think it's a release to stay. I don't think it's a limited or anything.
Oh, cool. Nice. Okay. So something you might actually be able to get, folks.
Yeah. And I think I got it for like 30, 35, something like that. Oh,
okay. It's not crazy.
SRP $39.99.
Oh, nice. Nice. Okay. So the same price as the Travelers we just had.
Let me pour this right now.
Yeah, go for it, man. Let it open up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's got a great bottle. So if you haven't seen this bottle, it feels very old fashioned-y, like it's from a time previous. And it's dark. The bottle's dark. So
yeah.
And maybe you wonder what you can barely see it in there. Definitely a tad darker than what we just drank.
Yeah, this cork is tight. Man. Jesus.
That shit's going to be airtight.
Yeah. So this is clearly a line extension of the old Overholt brand line from Jim Beam. Here we go. This release uses the same mash bill as the one Abraham Overholt used when he founded the brand in Pennsylvania in 1810.
Jeez.
80% rye and 20% soft malted barley.
Oh, wow.
Today, the Overholt brand is made in Claremont, Kentucky at the James B. Beam Distilling Co., with other Overholt rye bottlings incorporating some corn in the recipe. Unlike this release, bottled at 47.5% ABV, a Overholt Straight rye is available nationwide beginning April 2024. So this is another new one. Yeah, so my understanding is that it's a Monongahela mash rye. So I guess Monongahela is a specific area in Pennsylvania.
Oh, cool.
In Pennsylvania, back in the day, used to be like known for rye. Like rye was actually the first big American whiskey, even before bourbon.
Oh, wow.
But then it kind of fell to the wayside, I guess, during World War II, and everyone got off it, and then bourbon kind of blew up.
Well, there was this whole prohibition thing happening, so not right before, but before World War II. So
yeah, 1897.
And there's no age statement, I noticed as well. So
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Non-chill filtered, aged 4 years.
Oh, there you go.
Right
cool.
there on the side.
Right there on the side. Okay.
This rye whiskey born from a traditional Monongahela mash bill.
What's Monongahela? What is that? What does that mean?
I think Monongahela is just like a place.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I don't know. I may be wrong. Original Monongahela roots in honor of our founder that proudly... Yeah, I think it's an area.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe it's a type of rye.
I wonder if that's native. That sounds... It's got a term that doesn't sound like Europeans use.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. For sure.
So, that's cool. I have to look over what that is. That's super cool.
Let's go ahead and know it's not chill filters.
I love stuff like that where it's like, there's some history to it. Like it even has the 1810 posted on there. So, ooh, okay. This one, I already like the nose.
I'm sure this is going to be wild.
I already like the nose way better.
It's going to be a strong rye too, 80%.
Yeah, 80.
Oh man, that's definitely a rye nose. This is giving me that little bit of like a black licorice, teeny bit.
My nose is always messed up, folks, but I'm getting a tad of cinnamon on the nose, which is wild.
I was going to say that next. Yeah, a little bit of cinnamon.
Okay, so that was just not me.
Man, now I'm losing it though.
You do have to get your nose in there a little bit, so.
Maybe a little nutmeg.
Ooh.
I got to do my nosing kit again. I'm starting to forget like some of the aromas.
Yeah.
There's another one in here that I can't put my finger on, and I know I've like.
Shout out to your nosing kit episode, by the way. If you haven't listened, folks, it's helped me where you actually talked it over, like what all these things are and how you use them and stuff. It's super cool.
Yeah, Chris Walters, Knows Your Bourbon. Look them up on Instagram.
Knows Your
cool
Bourbon.
little kit.
Yeah,
he's a good guy. All right, well, I'm gonna go in for the taste. Here we go.
Good luck.
It's still very light on the palate.
Yeah.
I'll start with that.
It's absolutely
very light.
I was actually expecting a little bit more considering that nose. So that's a little bit of unexpected considering the nose.
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting that cinnamon that I smelled, or at least that's what I'm thinking I'm getting. So like there's this sweetness to it, but it's not very strong. Like I'm not getting the heat, the pepper, or anything like that. Mostly some sweetness. But I like this sweetness better than what we had on the Travelers. I think it's a little bit more it reminds me a little bit of Elijah Craig, interestingly enough, but pretty smooth. And for me, like I'm not getting any pepper or anything like that. Mostly sweetness.
I'm getting a lot of, I don't even know what type of, but it's definitely like spice and rye.
Yeah.
It's very bright though.
Bright, there we go.
For me, it's not too sweet, but it's also not very heavy on like the peppery end. The finish is like really short. It's still really light, which I don't really care for.
Finish is short, absolutely.
Yeah, I was hoping this would have a little more or that like compared to the Travelers, it'd be like a way
right.
And it is. It
definitely is. It's got way better. And there's flavors. I can identify some flavors in this one, but outside of that, it doesn't have that. Well, the proof is low. I mean, you can kind of tell.
Yeah. 5 proof points higher too. I guess I may have had my expectations too high for this. I was expecting maybe something a little way more So I don't know. I guess I'll have to try it again. It'll be interesting to compare this with like maybe an old Overholt Bottled and Bond and maybe some other rye.
Have you had the Bottled and Bond yet? Mm-hmm. Okay, and I assume that's stronger.
Yeah, 100 proof.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, as far as the Overholts go, Matt, like I finally a few months ago found old Overholt 114. I should have bought 2 of them. I do regret that. Because then like a week later, I saw one at Total Wine. I was like, wow, I never see these. And then now like,
oh, wow.
Should have bought it. Or the second one. And then old Overholt cast strength 10 year. Now that's the shit right there. That's a banger.
That's a good one.
That one I did buy too.
The cast strength, I love that. Yeah. We're talking.
That was a for sure secondary bottle.
The way that I've started to approach some of this stuff is like, okay, at this price level, if you wanted something a bit sweeter, I could understand you going with this one. But once again, for like $40, there's a lot of good options at $40. Mm-hmm. But that would be for my taste. I like something with a bit more kick at $40. So, I might go toward, I don't know I don't know, maybe some of the turkey stuff, but this is, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what that option, why am I can't remember what's around that price range, but it's not resonating with me as strong as some of the other stuff that we have tried.
For sure.
Price range.
Yeah. I may have set the expectations too high.
No, that's not your fault. It's definitely better than what we had before, or for me, it's better than what we had before. So
yeah, very, very peppery now, actually. Well,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. After a couple of sips, definitely getting the pepper up front now too.
I would be down for a little of that Russell's Reserve.
Let's bring it out. Okay, no problem.
Yeah. See, I was almost gonna bring something else just in case. Like if I was like, oh, these aren't too good, but I was like, no. I was like, Overholt's got to hit.
It's so funny as I open up my cabinet, there's a bottle of Michter's there as well. I think at the $40 range, I might go for the Michter.
Oh, hell yeah. No, hell
so that's actually a good option too at that range. Once again, it depends on what kind of mood you're in. So, sometimes I don't knock folks for the sweetness. Like sometimes that's kind of the, you want something a little more sweeter, maybe a little more on the it reminds me a little bit more of bourbon, to be honest with you. Interestingly enough.
Man, that's a wild take.
Yeah. Just because of the sweetness of it. Like for me, I'm getting a lot of sweet, but that could be my taste buds and what we start off with. So.
That's interesting. Well, shit. All right. Traveler and Overholt. Not Overholt. But yeah, let's talk about this movie now. Prey 2022, available on Hulu.
Why do you want to hunt?
Because you all think that I can't. I saw a sign in the sky. I'm ready.
Maui, Nita.
There's something out there. I'm coming with you.
You can't.
I'm trying to protect you.
Protect me from what? It's time.
It knows how to hunt. I know how to survive. Whatever did this, I can kill it.
I was going to text you last night when I was watching it to just say, like, man, this movie's good. And I didn't send the text. Whatever.
I was thinking, when I watched it, I was thinking of texting you like, dude, this is good.
Yeah. So, and this is only the second time I've watched it, actually. So I watched it.
Did it ever have a theatrical release?
It didn't, and that is my biggest beef.
Dude,
with
what
it.
a shame.
Yeah, such a shame. That's the biggest like misfire. Is to not that it didn't have a theatrical release. And I understand why. The Predator was a really shitty movie, and I'm sure they're like, yeah, we're not gonna fucking do this. Just like throw it on Hulu, make it on the cheap.
I didn't think The Predator was shitty, but I understand it when you watch this movie in comparison.
Did you end up watching it?
Isn't that the one we reviewed last time? What was the one we reviewed last time?
No, that was Predators. The Predator was like the one right before Prey from like
haven't watched this.
2018.
Okay, I haven't watched The Predator yet. Then.
Yeah, that was the one that I like shit on, and I said I'll only watch it if like you, Chris, and I do like a live.
If we can get Chris to be on the damn podcast, we'll do it. We'll take shots and we'll shit on it. But
to give the synopsis for this real quick. So this is set in the 1700s this time, which was an amazing idea.
The only subtitle you get in the film, the only thing that's titled in the film, because none of the dialogue when they speak in different languages is subtitled.
Yeah, which I love.
I love too. I completely agree.
So yeah, this follows. I'll read off IMDb.
Yeah, go for it.
Naru, a skilled warrior of the Comanche Nation, fights to protect her tribe against one of the first highly evolved predators to land on Earth. And it's an excellent movie directed by Dan Trachtenberg. So yeah, should have gotten a theatrical release. It's truly a shame. It's really frustrating that it didn't.
Dude, for real.
Especially since it's good, and then also it's like, hey, we have like a Native American cast.
Dude,
it's like, what a
oh my
missed
gosh,
opportunity.
right?
Now, did you watch it in Comanche with the subtitles, the Comanche dub?
I didn't know that existed until after I watched the movie.
Oh, that's rough.
I watched it in English.
Okay.
Yeah. Was the original in Comanche?
Well, it was in English. The Comanche dub was just like a bonus version they made.
It's so cool, and the actors actually did it
that way. Yeah.
You've only okay. I want to go back and watch it now that way, just to see the act or the. So they must have filmed each scene then in Comanche and then also in English.
Well, it's dubbed, and you can tell. So like they shot it English.
Okay, gotcha.
So their mouths are definitely moving.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, hey, I'm totally down with that. At least Moana did the same thing.
Small price to pay.
Small price to absolutely.
Yeah, let's start with you.
Yeah.
So you're new to all the Predator stuff. So how did you take this one in?
I know this is the most recent one. It might be my favorite. I loved it, and there are so many things I love about it. There are some things I dislike too, by the way, or at least that I bumped on that took me out of it a little bit. First of all, the two leads are fucking awesome, and I wonder if this would have gotten a theatrical release, if they might have even been considered for Academy Awards. I think the performances are that good. Maybe I'm overselling it. I understand it's a Predator film.
Yeah. The other lead being the brother or the dog?
The brother. Well, okay. That was the first thing I saw when they showed the dog in like the first scene. I'm like, if they kill this dog in this movie, I'm turning it fucking off. So, but I will say, okay, because I want to get that right. Amber Midthunder and Dakota Beavers, dude, totally, they're brother and sister in the film, and they are performed so well, and it just. the best way that I can say it is that it feels like they're real people. They're authentic, you know, and they're in this ridiculous situation where you've got spaceships flying overhead. You've got a guy who's invisible and all this kind of crazy shit. So like that part of it, that's why I think they do such a good job that they ground it. Like I get that who their characters have been established and who they end up being, I totally buy it in this situation. This crazy ass situation where you've got the fucking predator going around and killing shit. So I love that part about it. The cinematography. So I've been watching a lot of John Ford films recently.
Oh, okay. Sure.
And I swear to God, this reminds me a lot of John Ford. And what I mean by that is that the cinematography, when you're in a beautiful place, they shot it in Canada. When you're in a beautiful place like this, let the surroundings do the work. Like they don't flash up the surroundings. And I think that's such a smart choice by the cinematographer and the director. Just all you gotta do is pull the camera back and just make sure it's a beautiful time of day. You know, let the landscapes speak for themselves. And I fucking love that about this
That's
film.
one of my favorite aspects of this movie is that really great landscape shots.
There's so many of them
Beautiful
too.
environment. And you can tell it's like you can tell they're not just shooting on the volume, you know, on the LED wall.
Right, yes.
Like you can tell they're out there, they're doing it for real. Beautiful skies,
Dude.
beautiful horizons. And even in it made me realize on this second viewing, like, oh, even in the original movie, we never got like big landscape shots.
Yeah,
They're in
yeah.
like the jungle, very dense and tight.
Yes,
and
yes.
even though it's a jungle, there's almost like a claustrophobic quality
Right.
to it, you know?
But they use it as a character, which all the films I think kind of do. But
Yeah,
like this
definitely.
one, the places are just so spectacular. You don't need to do much to it. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that because it's not easy to capture it that way. But I appreciate that they let the landscapes speak for themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I thought that was a great choice. And that's the thing, I guess I'll just get it out of the way, the thing I bumped on. So when you've got these beautiful real locations, you've got these great actors doing the parts, I bumped on sometimes the VFX because of it. So the dog, you know, you can tell they've used a real dog in certain scenes. And then there are times where like the lion and the bear,
the wolf,
the bear, like I bumped on it a little bit because they look like they're VFX.
Yeah.
You know, and in my brain now, maybe this is because I've watched 5 different Predators at this point, or 4 different Predators. Like the Predator, I'm okay with because they've already established how the Predator looks in my brain, and they continue to be true to form for the Predator with some new tweaks and quirks, which I kind of liked. At the same time, so I got taken out of it just a couple of times where the VFX, and I know this stuff isn't easy, and I really do appreciate and respect that they put time into the VFX to make it look the way that it did. And there are a couple times where it's really good, but then other times that's where I bumped on the film with some of the VFX. And I'm sorry to say, because I know those people work their ass off to make it look good, because you can tell in certain scenes. But at the same time, I was like, it took me out of it just a little bit. But that was like the only thing I bumped on in this film, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It does pull you a little bit.
And I think it's really hard to do like animals lifelike. So when you're comparing them against real people, so like I've only seen parts of The Lion King where everything is VFX except the human.
Photorealistic.
Yeah, photorealistic. But when you've got like when you've got a real dog right next to not a real dog, not a real animal, you can see the way that they breathe and move. There's that slight uncanny valley that's just enough to be like, I'm bumping on it.
Yeah.
You know? So and I don't know if that everyone will, but I know for me it did. So
Yeah, it definitely does at time. And, you know, that and for me, CGI blood. I'm like, just give us some real blood, man.
I know why they do it nowadays, and I do appreciate it that, you know, it's the safer, quicker, faster way to do not faster, but it's the safer and quicker way to do it. And I get it, but at the same time, you notice on it. I couldn't get over the landscapes. I thought the film was paced perfectly. Never got bored once in this film. And I almost wanted to watch it again right when I was done watching it. It was that good. I appreciate everything about this, about the pacing of it. And I in addition to that, the lead, Amber Midthunder, the lead could have kind of sunk this film, to be honest with you, because she's like almost in every scene, you know?
Yeah.
And she's so good and she's so believable. And the writing establishes her character, so we're already rooting for her, you know, with this person who wants to be wants to be a hunter, but is, you know, kind of told to follow her role and stuff, which is an important role too, and she's good at those things too. But I thought that she did such a great job in selling all of that if she didn't do a good job with it, it might not have worked. So I thought that part was really well done as well.
Yeah. My only issue with like the writing side of it is I think, there's the subtext, obviously, that you kind of mention here. Yeah. Like she wants to be a warrior, certain people want her to fit into a role and she's trying to step out.
She's a good healer, she's good at doing other things.
Tracking.
Tracking all this.
But where it gets a little weak for me is when they feel the need to say it out loud.
Okay. That's fair.
That's
fair. That's fair.
I feel like more than once she says out loud the whole like, "Oh, you think I'm weak, but really I'm strong." And it's like, shut up. Like, if it like the real like you wouldn't say that out loud, And they do it like they convey it in these ways, so it doesn't need to be said. Like they show it. Yeah, we understand that this is what it's about. So for me, it diminishes a little bit when
that's a fair point. Yeah,
when they feel the need to say it. I think so this is my second time watching it all the way through. Yeah. Because, I visit my parents a lot and my dad is always fucking watching this movie all the time and always the English version for some reason. And I tell him, like, watch the other one.
I'm going to watch that one the next time.
Yeah. But there's some line deliveries and just some bits that are written that in English to me are just really cheesy. Clumsy, and again, clumsy is a good way to put it. And just like, really, like this seems so out of place. Like you seem more like a 2024 young woman saying this than someone who's from like 1700s. You know what I mean? I do think though, for me, like watching it again in the Comanche version, I think it helps a lot of that writing and stuff. I think it comes off
because you're not
better and stronger and more interesting. Maybe it's just because I don't know the language, but something about like when they say it and I'm reading the subtitles, it doesn't sound as dumb, if that makes sense, for the most part.
So here's a part where I couldn't agree with you more. And the Inside Out movies are actually an example of this, where modern writing, this is, in my opinion, what separates good writing from great writing, is where you can show it, and good writing gives you all the information you need and does it in a way to keep you interested. And that's what this writing does. But the great writing is where there is things that are inferred through the subtext like you're talking about. And I completely agree with you. I think that's the thing holding this film back from like getting to that next level of like greatness. I completely agree with you there, that there are some times where now that I'm thinking back upon it, because it's still my first viewing, where it's like, had they not said a few of these things, or in your point, if they would have said it in a different language where I didn't actually know what they were saying, we could have inferred it, because you'll see the action. They literally show you all these things that she's talking about. And so it's an interesting choice. I understand that there is this need to make sure the audience is following along and staying invested, because the movie's not going to work if you're not invested in what Naru is going through. At the same time, we see it. She's struggling with these certain things. She's good at this, she's good at that, but she wants to be this. We get that. Yeah. I totally agree with that. And I think you'll see these things where that isn't. Breaking Bad's a great example where we don't actually see. The characters don't say exactly what they do, but the characters will do it. Mm-hmm. And TV is in this unique position where they can do that because they have 12 episodes or 13 episodes to do it, Movies don't always have that luxury, but at the same time, they can absolutely do it. We've seen cases of them doing it, and yet they don't. So, so that point, I totally, and got to tell you, it's interesting we're having this conversation about a fucking Predator film. We should be talking about the action and how cool it is that the Predators, fighting all these different animals and shit like that. But yeah, we're talking about like, because we like the characters so much, we want to see them do the things we want to see them do. So that's what I found. And that's where I know the movie's working, but could have maybe hit that next level had they gone through that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one other thing for me is I feel like she doesn't change much along the way. Like she starts a certain way and just kind of ends a certain way. There's something to where
the arrow, she doesn't take the shot until she takes the shot with her bow and arrow. That's like the big thing. So at the beginning of the movie, throughout the first hour, she doesn't actually release her arrow from the bow and arrow. That's the thing where she changes. But to your point, you didn't even notice that. It doesn't resonate, So like, it's not as big as you would, it's not that huge change.
Yeah. And I mean, just even, I mean, I can see where that's probably some symbolism, right? But even with her personality and vibe. Like she was always confident in her abilities as a hunter, and we see that. We see aspects of that when she has to fight those other dudes.
Yeah, when she has to fight her own tribe members.
Yeah, but it's like she was always like, oh well, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And then she like ends up besting the predator and is like, yeah, I'm good at this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
and it is kind of funny because everyone beats the shit out of her and locks her up at some point. Her tribe, are those Portuguese? I don't actually know.
They're
what
French.
They're Frenchmen. Okay. So, at some point she gets locked up by literally everyone. So,
but she does put up, like, even with her tribes, she puts up a really good fight. So that we're seeing like, okay, she can fight. Yeah. She can take care of herself,
totally.
But we got like 2-3 people on her, and it's, enough for me to believe it. Cause sometimes I see stuff like that. I'm like, all right,
whatever.
But this, I can buy it. Yeah. What else I was going to say about that? But yeah, I mean, comparing it to say, the first movie with Arnold, he goes and he is that confident.
That's a good point.
Fighter.
Yeah.
And then as things go bad,
he has to change. Yeah,
he becomes scared.
Yeah, he has to go through a process to end up being able to face
exactly.
Predator. Yeah, that's a good point.
And then we're gonna.
That's God, man, you're reminding me now. Like that is one of the things that there are so many things that make the first Predator so good, and that's a great point. That Arnold has to go through some shit and some changes to get to where he eventually ends up.
Yeah, he's got to be broken down a little bit. She never quite gets that.
Yeah.
I mean, her brother gets killed. That's emotional.
By the way, that might have been my favorite scene in the film where both of them take on the Predator. Like,
I love it.
It's so fucking badass.
I love it.
And the timing of the slow motion and stuff, like it is filmed perfectly and exquisitely. And it was my favorite fight scene in the entire movie because it shows how badass the brother, because we know the brother is good at this point, but we haven't seen him be a badass. So to see him be at this range where he's throwing the spear through him and he's got it, like the brother is a fucking badass and he looks awesome in that scene.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And just like the tactics that they use, it's like the way they go about it, which is cool and interesting, because on one hand you can think, okay, the Predator can easily overpower them. Like again, Arnold can go one-on-one with this thing, and he's a rag doll by comparison. But it's the way they attack and just the best. The
There's
only
a strategy
is tactics. Yeah. Because these warriors are just on a whole other different level. And the way. Just because the way things are, and they don't have a bunch of technology.
And I think it's awesome that like Predator wipes out almost that entire French group before like this even happens. So I think that just keeps establishing how badass the Predator is. So how are these two going to overcome that? And you can see it's a totally different approach than everything we've already seen. So you believe, this is why I think I bought into the movie so much. You believe that these two could take on the Predator at this point. So that was really cool.
I mean, there's still times where I grapple a little bit with the fact that
they're using
was able to do some of the things she did.
So. And so, I mean, you got to leave a little bit of disbelief, at the door as you're watching it. But
I love that little sequence where it's just kind of standing in the woods and you see the ant on it, and then the rodent gets the ant.
Oh yeah.
And then the snake gets the rodent, and then the snake sees the predator's there and then gets skinned or whatever. I thought that was interesting.
Brutal.
And I love too that for them, and because it's like Native Americans centuries ago, where she sees the thing in the sky and it's like, oh, it's the thunder god, or that's the sign that I got to do. I got to do the trial. It's but when she's putting together there's some other kind of beast out here, we gotta get it, that's what scared the lion and this and that, and that to them, because they're not thinking aliens from space. It's just there's some other creature out here we haven't encountered yet. So I don't know, the way they encounter it and approach it, it doesn't seem like if it were us, we'd be oh shit, there's an extraterrestrial being here. But for them, it's just it's some other some other animal out in the woods.
Because we're experiencing what we think are godlike behaviors every other day. So there's something she does, and I know I've watched movies where it's got to be challenging for actors to react to a character that's completely CG. There's nothing there, and they have to kind of make believe that something's there. Her reactions, this is what I loved about her performance, is that she's got these eyes that are huge, and like, especially around this time period where we're talking about, where like you see the Predator and she's seeing things she's never, like when the laser sights are on, the different characters and stuff, her eyes get huge, and it reminds me of like just what a authentic reaction would be to it. And I think that's why one of the reasons I loved her performance as well, because of that reason. Like that's how I would be. I mean, me personally, I would run the other way and I'd run as far as I could get before the thing killed me.
And she does at one point, which I appreciate. Like when she's caught up by the other three dudes and they all get murdered and she gets loose. Yeah. And because I remember thinking, I'm like, you're not about to. Like, I'm going to be so mad if she fights it. And then, but she's like, nope, and goes the other way.
Right. Actually,
and it's
runs
like,
away.
that makes sense. Like that, like, and that's part of her cunning, and that she's smart and knows that like right now is not the time. This is not going to work. We need a plan. We got to be prepared. I love that when they, well, first of all, I love the sound effects of the Predator, that like whiplash sound when it is engaging its like projectile weapon, and like how, you know, centuries earlier it's not the laser yet, it's literally like a projectile. I was gonna ask,
in the original movies, it was a laser. Yeah, okay, that's what I'm like, okay, that's cool that they're like, this is 300 years ago or 400 years ago. I just want to remember, my memory might have been fogged, but that's cool. I dig that they actually have some evolution with the Predator.
Yeah, but even that when the like three dots are on the dude, and he like, they don't know
what the fuck is this? No idea. They've never seen a laser or a light, electricity to begin with. So one of the things after watching all these movies, and admittedly I haven't seen The Predator, but I have started to wonder after watching so many of these movies now, what the motivation for is a predator, or like, why does the predator just kill? Are we ever told why predators just get in there and kill?
Well, they're just hunters. They're just like, their whole thing is learning how to be better hunters.
So this is the instinct. That's like, that's all that we get from it.
That's what they're there to do. And it just like, what's the biggest, baddest thing on this planet, and are we going to be able to conquer it?
I understand if the Predator went a different direction, we wouldn't necessarily have a movie. But in this movie, now that I've watched 4 of them, I'm kind of wondering, like, what's the end game? What's the end game for the Predator? Just to be the top dog and literally murder everyone on the planet?
I think that's it. I think that's hilarious. Just to find like what the. I mean,
that's fucking awesome and hilarious.
Humans do that. Like that's like humans do that.
That's a good point.
People go and hunt rhinoceroses and shit. And like, why?
Food chain. What's top of the food chain?
What's the biggest trophy I can get?
That's like, fucking hilarious, man.
You know? And that's what makes it a compelling monster.
Right.
Is the fact that, you know, it's not just like killing for the sake of killing. It has a code. It has its own set of rules.
We definitely see it in this film.
Yeah, which makes it way more interesting. And we, you know, even in the first movie, when it sees that the Maria is not a threat, and it leaves her alone.
And moves her alone.
Because she's not going to do anything. Yeah. Or in Predator 2, when it sees that the police lady is pregnant, and it's like, nope, not going to do it. I
forgot about that. Yeah, I didn't even think about that watching this film. Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah, and then there's here, like when she gets caught in the trap, and it's just like, all right, well, it's not good sport.
Yeah.
Right?
This doesn't prove anything. So that's interesting.
They do dig into it, like in The Predator, which watch it if you want, but they do dig into that more, and they make a whole joke about how, like, technically it's not really a predator. It's, you know, whatever. But
Rudy is already starting to shit on the film, and we haven't even watched it. But I think I got you.
Maybe, you know, now that I've gone through them all, there is a part of me that's like, maybe I'll watch it again.
At the same point, it's almost better that they don't explain it, in all fairness. So even though I started to question, like, what the fuck is the Predator's end game? At the same point, it does make it good that I don't know, to be honest with you. Yeah. Like, so it's an interesting point.
Well, I feel like in this, like, they explain it enough, even in Predator 2 as well, you know, like
totally.
Danny Glover defeats and all the other ones are there, and they're like,
everyone's on the spaceship and everything.
Hey, you won. Yeah. Here's the gun.
Here's your thing.
Here's the gun from Prey.
Yeah, literally.
It's the same gun. Yeah.
Oh, is it the same gun?
Yeah, it's supposed to be the same gun.
I don't remember all the connections, so I was curious about that. Okay.
Yeah, it's the same gun that the dude gives her, and she has it. But it's interesting because then the implication is that a predator comes back and like kills them all and takes the gun back because that gun was in the hands of the predator. So
that's hilarious.
But yeah, that's why it's collecting trophies, you know, just headhunters. And I like that in Predators, the last one we talked about, you know, when they're talking to Lawrence Fishburne and he says like, that whole like little hunting ground
Yeah.
is just for them to learn. He's like, they come back
Because they do it year after year, or season after season.
And
whatever they
he's
call it.
like, every time they come back, he's
Yeah.
like, their weapons change, their tactics.
Yeah.
He's like, their whole approach, like based on who's out there, one gets killed, they
Right.
change everything. And
How funny.
that just their whole nature is being the best. So yeah, no, I love that. I love when it, goes against the wolf too. I thought that was super.
That part I thought was super
interesting
cool.
and cool because we don't, in the original movie and everything, we know it's obviously going after the people, but we can assume that this is probably the first time one of these aliens has been on planet Earth.
Right.
So it's discovering what's out here.
What's the food chain? How does this work?
And then the wolf, and then the bear.
The bear, the bear's next. He looks at the dog and then realizes that the dog isn't necessarily as a threat as some of the other things. Yeah, there's some interesting analysis going on by the predator at this point.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the other thing I liked about the film too, is that you kept the conventions of the predator, so it seems authentic to what we've already established as the predator. But if you've never seen a film, you could totally get right into it on this one.
Yeah.
And I did like. My memory was a little bit foggy, but I'm like, okay, I think there's some evolutions going on here because I thought the laser was a laser, and was there a flamethrower or something explosive that we?
Yeah, it had like the bombs.
That's another thing I liked about this film. There weren't any big explosions except for that one time where it's the little thing.
Yeah, when she's walking away.
Yeah, when she's walking. And
yeah,
but I appreciate that because that makes the threat level. It's something that you could see a human overcoming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really feel like that's actually good writing where you write these things. You have to believe that at some point the character can overcome these things. And because the predator is so established on this level and stuff like this, you're like, oh, what the fuck can she do to actually beat this thing? But there was legitimacy. She figured out how to use a gun. She knows how to use her blades against the thing. Like all these little things pay off and they make sense by the time we get to the final encounter where she puts a bullet through the thing. She knew she had to take off his mask.
Yeah.
Like I love all that shit. I think just pays off and connects and brings the whole thing together so well personally.
Yeah, I do like how they show it. Her like with the experience with each encounter, something happens and like okay,
yeah, he learns from
the
and so
helmet,
does she. Yeah.
this that, and she's figuring it out. The one that does bother me a little bit is how quickly she figured out the like thermal vision.
Yeah,
when she gives the dude the plan and she's like, oh. It can't see him because the cold.
But that happened in the original Predator too. And the original Predator, like where they figure out if he doesn't move, what does he figure out when he's against the tree?
When he's in the mud because he's in the water.
Yeah, he's in the water. Yeah. So like, I understand what you're talking about, but at the same point, you got to make it kind of quick because it's a movie and shit like that. So
I mean, I buy that more than this one though, because he was there experiencing it in like real. I don't know.
That's a good point because he's acting like he's dead. So maybe she should have inferred that he's dead, and maybe that's what he's seeing. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I buy that. But she's got the miracle medicine.
Just immediate, and not even just like, oh, it's the plant, but like to the point of being like, oh, the plant makes his blood cold, so that means he has thermal vision.
Yeah, so it all works out okay in the end. That's a fair point. Fair point.
Yeah. I mean, a little thing, but. That whole sequence, man, when the French dudes are like using them as bait to get the predator over there is so cool.
Good.
It's really dope. It wasn't as cool the second time around, to be honest.
Okay.
But still cool. And the first time I was like, yeah, this is badass. This is what we've been waiting for. Like,
I bumped on one little thing. I didn't quite get a sense of how many people were involved in there.
Right.
And so the predator just keeps killing off the French dudes. And I'm like, oh shit, how many people are there? And he doesn't have any problem with any of them, which is hilarious. But at the same time makes sense because it gives them time to figure out a plan, the brother and sister to figure out a plan, Naru and the brother to figure out how it goes. But I agree with you. It's awesome. And the fog works I think it all makes sense. And this is where I actually think once again, the filmmaking is so good because I'm never lost in the space. And that's not easy to do in a situation like this where it's all fogged, everyone's covered and all these kinds of things. And I never got lost where anybody was because once again, like they made this is where I kind of related back. I know this is going to sound fucking crazy, but I related back to John Ford a little bit where like they did their job where like, as a viewer, I need to understand what's going on and I need to see what's happening. And they let the camera do the work of what the action, like they let it unfold in front of the camera. And I think that's just smart choices. And I, as the viewer, I never bumped on anything. I knew exactly where I was the whole time. So just really great, good. it's really great filmmaking, and it's a little bit sometimes underrated that's not easy to do what they did,
for
you
sure.
know? So I appreciate that kind of craft.
Yeah. No, well said. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good moment. I love that, because at this point, all right, it's got the invisibility. We know it has its blades. It's like retractable blades, but we don't know about the other weapons yet. But once they start like pulling guns on it, and then it's got the shield, and it still has like the net thing from the other movies.
Yeah. I forgot
like
the
the
net.
spear.
I literally had forgotten about the net. I'm like, oh, that's
that
gross.
shit was tight.
Yeah,
right?
that shit was disgusting. But
I kind of wish they showed it, but I think it was slick to like move the camera down as it like pulls
squeezes the thing that got you down.
Well, all that stuff was really cool. And then it's like, the projectile weapon was really neat. The
shield was awesome. Seeing people's heads get cut off and stuff like that. It's very well done, very effective. And then the little, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's I don't know what you'd call it, but the thing he does on his wrist with the bombs and everything.
Yeah.
So pretty freaking badass.
I thought that was actually like a good, funny moment when all those dudes like fire at it and they have to reload like the old with the sticks and all that.
I laughed out loud.
That's fucking brilliant. And it learns too, because there's another point where it gets shot by some other guys again, and then it like takes its time to do something because it knows that they have to reload now. It like figures it out.
Have you ever seen the movie Glory?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
So Glory set in the 1800s around the Civil War, and they get in a line and they shoot each other, and then you actually see them reloading. They're putting the powder, and it reminds you that there was a different time in the world where that was what a gun was, and so it's funny to see that happen because I'm sure the player's like, oh, these guys are fucking dead. Yeah, I mean, this is the easiest kill I'll have all day. So I agree with you. I laughed out loud at that point. So.
Yeah, good moment.
Hilarious.
Shoot.
I think it. I don't. We talked about it briefly at the beginning, but I do appreciate when I went and ended up reading about this. Another surprise that it wasn't released theatrically. The cinematography should have been a reason alone to release it theatrically. And I understand it's 2021, so this is COVID time. So I totally get that aspect. At the same time, to your point, like. It was a full Native American. Like, we had all these Native American leads and stuff, and it just seems like such a missed opportunity that, on top of being a badass film and having a cool story that I think people would have been down to see, you could have celebrated some of our native culture here in this country, And it's like, there's no better time to do it right now when people like this are in the spotlight, and we need to shine spotlight on people like
that's
this.
where all this is just me.
Sure.
So a lot of the DEI and blah 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 is like such bullshit in this industry and checking boxes. Like,
but you could have done it,
dude. Like
you checked the box.
It's like you had it.
You had it.
You had it. Like, why didn't it? But that's the thing where it just goes to show. It's like, dude, it's like if it was a bunch of white people, it probably would have been in theaters. But where I do give them a little credit is I thought The Predator was pretty bad. I'm not gonna go and look at the numbers and like box office and all that, but I'm pretty sure it didn't perform well or get reviewed well.
This movie?
No, The Predator. The one
The
before.
Predator. Okay, because like this one got
from like
great.
2018 or whatever. So when I think about that, it's like, okay, I can see why they're like, all right, well, I guess we have the rights. Let's make a fucking another one, strip the budget down and just put it on streaming. But that's what's such a shame. It's like, this one was this for me. And I really enjoy Predators. We talked about it. But even watching this one again, like for me, I'm never gonna say it's better than the first one, but I think it's up there with it.
It's up there
with it. Yeah. Like, and it's similar enough and being back to like the roots of it all.
Yeah.
Kind of like Predators was, but also like pretty different. Like the type of people they are and just like the environment. Obviously the time period, for sure, clearly. But even the addition of like, the French people that are here. Yeah. And that was an interesting part too, where she comes across the buffaloes and immediately we think like, it killed and skinned all the buffalo. Because that's what it does. It like skins them.
I was like, wait a minute, how could it have killed all those? But then at the same time, like, that's the only thing they could have done that. Mm-hmm. But then we flipped
Yeah,
it.
and
It's
she's at the
unexpected.
cigar and all that, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, and then you realize, like, oh, some other people, like the
Other
people
dudes.
getting the pelts and all that, trappers.
It did make me wonder about the bear traps at the beginning. Like, who's setting these bear traps? It poses the question and then it pays it off later on in the film.
Yeah, and so that whole addition and that makes sense, you know.
But to your point, like this seems like a no-brainer for any studio.
Yeah, for real. And yeah, it's got to be one of the biggest missed movie opportunities in like years.
Totally agree.
And the most important thing, like all that stuff aside, is that it was good.
It was
it
good.
was good.
It was a fun movie to watch.
The story was good. It's
Yes.
fun. The action's good. Cinematography, like you said.
The writing is decent enough to get you through the story, the
it's-
whole thing.
It's a breath of fresh air compared to so many
Oh
other.
my
Like I
gosh,
bump
yes.
on certain things
Sure,
just for me,
sure.
but better than so many other things out
You
there.
won't
in my
regret
opinion.
the hour and a half because it's a short movie.
And that's the thing
You won't
too.
regret it.
Just a nice, tight,
Yeah.
90 minutes or so.
Yeah.
We're not going to stretch it out and
No.
make it way longer than it needs
to be. Yes.
You know, you got a cool dog in there that apparently that wasn't like a trained movie dog. Like they got a hold of that little guy like not long before filming, which is pretty wild because that dog seemed like a really good actor.
That's why I was going to be so. I might have turned it off if the dog got killed because the dog was so cute and so like smart. I love seeing a smart dog, but like a believable smart dog. You've trained it to do these things, and the dog can do it. Sorry, I'm a big dog person. I got a couple of them myself. So you hear them on the podcast all the time, and so it's like I love that it was a believable, and it wasn't a dog like saving the day. You know, it was just enough for the dog to be.
Yeah, the dog's like, there's a bear coming, so I'm running.
This is. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Sorry, I'm leaving. You're on your own. And then later we'll come back. Like there's one point where she's showing the dog's there with like a mouse or a rat or something. She's like, oh, you're back. It makes sense. Yep.
This is where, don't get me wrong. Like, I hope we keep making every type of film out there because I want to see all different types of stories and everything like that. At the same time, I'm not quite sure that studios are going to figure it out how to make money in the modern era because for folks who don't know, like movie making is a business, unfortunately. Whether you like it or not, it's artistic and it's also a business. So you have to find movies that make money. I feel like this one was kind of a no-brainer and they literally shot themselves in the foot by doing so.
Yeah.
You said it was a lower budget, and I agree with you. But according to Wikipedia, $65 million. So, like, I feel like you could have released this and probably made $100 million at least. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what the fuck. I know nothing about the movie making business.
For sure. Like I don't think I've met anyone that's said anything bad. Like anyone I've talked to about this movie is like, oh yeah, this is one of the best ones.
I didn't even, to your point, and admittedly, Predator movies weren't on my radar, but I had no idea this film even ever came out. You know, and I'm so glad you recommended it because I wouldn't have gotten to see I'm going to watch this film again. I loved it. I literally loved this film. Like I said, it's right there with the original Predator for me. So it's kind of a bummer that it unfortunately was a Hulu release, which isn't a bad thing. So people will see it, but at the same time, it feels like this could have been done theatrically.
Yeah.
So.
No, definitely. I would love, and I hope that the director or producers or someone is wise enough to strike a film print of it.
Dude.
And that New Beverly or Vista will screen it. I feel like they would. Like someone would do like I can completely see like Vista like playing it, but someone's got to make that film print.
Right? So within the first paragraph of the RogerEbert.com review, admittedly it's not Ebert because he had passed by this point, but they literally say, this is the type of film I want to see on a big screen.
Yeah.
And it says, find the biggest screen you can find and watch this film. And
especially with those landscapes. Come on, man.
So I did my best. I didn't watch it on my iPad. I literally tried to get as close to the screen as I could. And I was I got pretty close to it. So it wasn't a theatrical experience, but I turned up the volume. I did my best to try to make it. And it is so worthy of that experience for sure.
And I appreciate that too, that Dan Trachtenberg and the rest of the crew didn't approach it as like, all right, well, we're making a straight to streaming movie. You know what I mean? They approached it like, we're doing this for real. We're doing this for real as if it's going to play at the Cinerama Dome. Imagine this at the Cinerama Dome.
Oh my God, it'd be wonderful, dude. I just think of all these. I mean, even there's so many shots that kind of homage the original Predator. Like those scenes would have been so freaking great, man.
If it bleeds, we can kill it. So that's one line that just made me laugh when the brother says it when they're tied up. Why did you just say that?
Yeah,
you
that
did
is
that
it.
only because the first movie. But it did
There is some
feel
logic to it, but yeah, I got you.
It did feel not as much as like I think in the other one.
Well,
though.
for sure.
But it did. That was another line though that watching the Comanche dub just and they changed. I noticed the subtitles were different from what I remember of the English, so maybe it translated a little bit differently. But that was one that I'm like, you know what? Like in the Comanche dub, it came across like way cooler, and just way better. Like there was something about it, or like the way it was phrased, or certain
Just
words
the readings of it, I'm sure. Yeah,
it was. It came across more like, all right, like now I buy it. Now it's logical. But before I'm like, you just watched the first movie, and you're just saying what he said.
It's so great. I mean, now you're really making me want to hear the Comanche readings of it, so because it sounds so interesting.
You should. Like anytime I watch this movie, I'm only going to do it that way. And you know, I appreciate that they had the wherewithal to do that. I thought it was a really cool choice.
Yeah.
So I'm going to always go to that. I just think it's a nice touch, and I love that. It makes way more sense. You know what I mean? Like I wish with movies we would do that shit more. You know, like Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards. I love that most of that movie is in French and German.
Yeah.
Like the bulk of it is like in the actual languages and not like a bunch of Nazis just speaking English, you know?
It is the trend we've seen in certain films, and I totally agree with you that there is something to the performance when it's in the native language. It adds that authenticity to it, and I talk about that all the time. I think let me speak for myself. I, as a viewing person, believe something more, or I buy into the authenticity when it's spoken in the native language. Like it just adds to it. And I think that's such a choice. I understand that we've been in this place where if you have subtitles, then you end up reading it. Well, there are times where the performances are so good and what you're seeing already believes you don't even need to subtitle it, you know? A lot of, God, there are so many. I think of like the movie Hero. You ever seen Hero?
Oh, yeah. It's been a minute.
I watched the subtitles. The subtitles don't even matter. The cinematography and the visuals are so beautiful. You don't need to read the subtitles to understand what's going on. And I feel like when your film is done so well, or when you have these authentic moments, the subtitles don't even matter. So you can put them on there. You don't have to include them. But me as a viewing member, I get it. I don't need the extra, subtitles and stuff like that. So
yeah. You know, and going back to, you said this earlier when we started recording, like when we get into all the French guys, I love that it's not subtitled at all.
Oh my gosh.
I love when movies have the balls to do that.
I didn't know if they were Portuguese or French or anything.
Yeah,
so.
Maybe they are Portuguese. I assume they were French, but maybe I'm wrong.
But it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
They're white men with their white people.
But I love when movies have the balls to do that and put you in the position of the character, because it's like, yep, we're just as lost as she is. She has no idea what they're saying. So we shouldn't have any idea what they're saying because we're operating from her perspective. And it makes it more tense. You know what I mean? It adds to the tension, and also the performance and the tone. Like you can kind of figure out what's going on. You don't need to read it. Like to your point, you can figure out what's going on based on their actions and movements, tone, the mood, all of that.
Totally. What's the Star Wars show that we really like that was really well done?
Andor.
Andor did that when we see the kids on the planet in the flashbacks.
Right.
They don't do subtitles. It's just there are so many examples where if you've done the work to understand what's going on, the subtitles don't matter. And there is something visual that is a universal language. And I actually think this film tapped into that. Like that's where the filmmaking is on another level.
Yeah.
Like where it doesn't even matter what's being spoken. We can understand what's going on because you've shown us what's going on.
Yeah.
So, totally agree, man.
Oh yeah.
This is the crazy thing. I never would have thought we'd be dissecting a fucking Predator film like this, but it's so good that it absolutely warrants and deserves this kind of thought about it because it's so well done. Like, how did they achieve this kind of believability and authenticity? This is how they did it.
Yep. Yeah. We'll see how the next one is. Apparently, they've already started working on it. It's called Badlands.
Think it'll be is it a sequel to the prequel by any chance?
No, I think it's another separate story. From what I hear, the idea is that they're gonna, I guess, keep it going, but do different time eras and everything.
I'd love to see Naru go kick some more ass. So that's just me personally. But the Predator series, we've never done the same story. They never sequel directly. They've always gone different places.
Yeah.
So I totally get it.
Yeah, and I mean, taking that approach makes sense. Like, I would love to see like samurai. I would love to see medieval times.
Yeah, that's so good. That's a good point. There's so many cool places.
Yeah, another friend was talking about like Vikings.
Yeah,
Aztec. There's so many different routes you can.
Did you ever see Cowboys versus Aliens?
No.
It's okay. It's a little
Western.
Yeah, but like a Western, like just why not, right?
Yeah.
Like just go fucking all different places.
Yeah.
So, super interesting.
Yeah, could be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I got to say on this one. If anyone hasn't seen it, and you got this far, like just go watch it, man.
Yeah.
Check it out. It's good.
I'm going to say once again, Rudy, thanks for suggesting it. Like I never would have watched it, didn't even know it existed until you said something. And I'm so glad because it's a movie I'm going to watch again. I can't wait to watch it in Comanche and it'll definitely be a film I revisit.
Yeah. Pleasant surprise, right?
Like, absolutely pleasant surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good one.
Hope I get a chance to see it on a big screen someday.
Yeah. Someone's got to do it.
Blow it up. Put it on the theaters.
Yeah. Someone's got to do it sometime.
So good.
But yeah. Anyway, that's a wrap, everybody.
Cool.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Drinks and a Movie podcast. You can now find us on Instagram at Drinks and a Movie Pod, where we'll be posting photos from all the various films that we discuss. You can also email us at drinksandamoviepod@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe, and thank you for listening.